that's fun. Like if we're naturally getting into the conversation about the movie.
But we're on it. So hello everyone. We are. This is, in case you didn't know, this is Slaphappy movie time. We give a very short synopsis of a movie.
I mean, sometimes it's the same length as the movie.
Sometimes it's the same length of the movie, but we're here to have a good time with you. So shout outs to Charlie Yang, and here we go. So this week we watched Chronicles of Riddick, which is difficult.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which we all thought, well, maybe not Hearn, but we all thought was the first movie in the Chronicles of Riddick franchise.
Okay. Chronicles of Riddick franchise is maybe the greatest film franchise of all time. Number one.
What's your
number two?
What's your argument? What's the number one? Like, what's?
I like it. That's the argument, Rob.
Right. You like all of them?
No. So
okay.
That actually brings to the kind of setting up of the podcast. The second one is much, much, much better than the other two. The first Riddick movie is basically Vin Diesel Riddick. He crashes onto a planet, and they walk around the planet for like 2 hours.
I'm glad we didn't watch that one, because that would have been a bummer. Yeah.
Right, because that's very easy to sum up, right? So this movie starts out basically where that one left off, where Riddick is doing cool stuff, running around. Everyone thinks he's a murderer.
Well, yeah. We'll set the scene here. So the movie kind of opens up, right, and we kind of get like this very vague, like there's like a disembodied voice, right, and it's like
it tells us what's going on.
Yeah, it's like look out, Necromundo. And that's kind of what it says. And it shows like a guy, and he's got like 3 faces, and he's like pulling levers, and he's like blowing up planets. And then it just kind of cuts away from that, right? It's done with that piece. That's just to set the ominous overtones, I guess.
Right. I wanted to ask Hearn, the expert. Is the necromongers even remotely mentioned in the first movie?
No, not at all.
Anything? Okay, so this is an entirely new,
brand new
antagonist. Okay,
right? Yeah, they're basically the evil empire. They have.
Oh, they're space crusaders.
Yeah,
they go around and they're like, convert to our religion. And everyone's like, no, and they're like, all right, and they burn them alive. Like that's what they do.
Yeah, classic plot line.
I want to throw out there that, like, if you want us to root for your protagonist, don't highlight how badass and cool and like cutthroat your villain is, because when I saw the intro, I'm like, oh man, these necromongers not only have the evilest and most badass name possible, but like they just started out being cool.
Yeah, you can't be cooler than them.
I do. Yeah. It's like I found it funny. Like, okay, they established them, right? They're like, Judi Dench is like, hey, here's the necromongers, and you're like, that's a silly name, but all right. But it would make sense. Like, that's what you would call them from a third party, right? If there was a group of space people going around demanding you convert to their space religion and killing you if you don't, and it has to do with death and rebirth, you would call them necromongers. But why would they ever call themselves that? You know what I mean? And they do.
Because they know
they got
the leader's like, we're the necromongers. I was like, oh my god, like what the fuck are you?
That's the next level of like dominance, is just taking the thing that they call you and just being like,
yep, that's what we are.
But like, isn't there like whole like their idea of heaven is like underverse? Like they have all the names like down like that, you know? Like I don't remember exactly what the chief guy's name. His name was Mitch, wasn't it? Marshall.
The Lord Marshall.
The Lord Marshall. I know it sounds like a title, right? Lord Marshall, but I swear to God that's his name. It's Lord Marshall.
His name is just Marshall. Yeah.
So we're for sure calling him Mitch for the rest of this freaking time. That's hilarious. So it kind of gets
Midge.
So it gets established that the Necros are around, they're bad, they're doing stuff in the world. And then it cuts straight to Vin Diesel in Hoth, I think.
Ice
He's
Planet.
like in the
Yeah.
ice planet, and he's getting chased by these mercenaries. And the mercenaries' lead is this guy named Toombs, I think is his name.
Yep. Tombs.
Toombs.
Yeah, he's
He's
like a
rocking
greasy,
mutton stash and a goatee combined, like a weird like.
and he is extra greasy. Like this dude, like slipped through a tube of Vaseline to get into this scene. Like he's nasty.
He's a grease ball for sure.
Yeah, and like I do find so their whole setup, right? They're chasing down Mr. Vin Diesel, who is Riddick. We haven't been revealed this yet, but I mean it's very obvious at this point, right? Except for he's got like big long hair, like Vin Diesel for.
He's got fucking dreadlocks and a beard.
Yeah, and like these dudes are flying, right? They're like mercs, and they're trying to get him because there's a bounty on his head, and they like fly in and they're shooting stuff at him, and he's dodging it or whatever. One of them kind of like clips him in the back leg. He's like ah, and they like follow him into this tunnel because the bounty's so good that they want to do it, right? And how they're shooting stuff at him is they have like two dudes hanging on the outside of the plane. They're not even in the plane like shooting.
Suspended off the fucking wings.
Yeah, they're like acrobats. They're tied up like with guns. It seems like a really bad way to shoot something accurately, to be completely honest with you.
Like hanging two bird cages off of the wings would have been slightly safer.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, unpaid internships in year 3000 have just gotten out of control, guys.
I wouldn't want the intern out on the wing. That's too
Nobody
big of a
wants
job.
to work anymore.
It's literally cheaper.
Nobody wants to merc anymore.
Nobody wants to merc.
Oh.
Like,
And so
why did they not have a place for them to shoot? Is it, you said it's cheaper? Like if they
yeah,
just have,
because
like,
it's
Yeah,
cheaper.
because they
it's
would have had
cheaper
to. They had to build a bigger like fuselage
Right.
for the ship to
yeah,
have a nice warm space for this
Right.
dude to shoot in. But instead, they're like, we're just gonna hang you from a strap off
Right.
the wing
yeah,
on
Yeah,
this
think
fucking Hoth ice planet.
put
think of
some
the
goggles
economics from Toombs' head, right? So Toombs is like, I could just to install guns on my ship, right? What would that cost? Like 5,000 credits or whatever? Or I could hire two dudes, right? And if they die, they don't get a split of the thing anyways. So
Right,
it,
right.
it ends up working really,
Classic
really
merc.
well. Yeah. Oh, exactly.
They
Exactly.
love their fractions.
Yeah, when they're fucking at that one part where Riddick kills the one guy and they just look at each other like, "Whoop, four-way split now." Like they're just like,
Yeah, I remember there was this point where Toombs is like, stay on top of him, guys. He's like commanding his two dudes, interns that are hanging on the thing. He's like, stay on top of them. And Riddick is actually on top of the vehicle, about to bust in.
Yeah,
already.
some real Dragon Ball Z shit. Yeah, he looks like Toombs like looks left and the guy's like cut down. He's like, hey, you better get ready on the right. And he looks over there and that guy's cut down, right? Because I mean they're just held on by ropes, right? And they're both gone, right? And he's like, uh-oh. And then Vin Diesel like jumps in to their ship and he like kills a guy in the back. I think I don't remember. No, he just threw him out.
he threw him out.
Yeah, he just threw him out, and then he grabs Toombs and he like puts the knife to his neck and he's like, where'd you come from, or what's the bounty? And he's like, oh, it's a lot of money. And Vin Diesel's like, who would pay that much money? And then he's like, well, I got it from this planet, Helios.
Helios Prime.
Helios
Helios
Prime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is just kinda
And then on the
ominous.
screen, it's like Helios System,
Million.
Helios Prime.
What was that, Al?
1.5 million space currency. Like what was the current? Was it dollars?
I don't
like,
know. Space.
Six.
It was
I don't- I
pesos.
don't know if
It
The
wasn't
last
actually
movie I
very
watched,
much.
they kept talking about in Flash Gordon. They do that too. They're like how long till we get there? 6. Like 6 what? Like what are you fucking?
Because I forgot what they used for the currency, because they also bounced back and forth between freedom units and metric a couple times, like in the same sentence.
I was always confused about the temperature, the thermometer, but we'll get there. We'll get there. So Helios Prime, right? It's an orange planet. Everything's orange there. I don't remember how he gets there. Oh, he steals the ship, right? He throws Toombs out. He's like, see you later, and like tosses him out the ship. And it's actually at this point in the movie, I kind of realized it's really, really hard for me to take Vin Diesel seriously. Like,
Super difficult.
he's supposed to be like this ultimate badass, and I look at him and he just looks like a doob. Like, I don't know. Like, he's just a goober. It's really
He never
hard.
comes off as a smart person ever. Like, even if he is smart dialogue written for him, Vin Diesel will not come off as that for me ever.
I didn't know if I wanted him to come off as smug or badass the entire movie, but he was like kind of both sometimes.
He's inconsistent for sure.
Yeah, when he's like talking shit at Toombs and he's like, how many mistakes you made? It's like, that was when he picked him up, right, or caught him, or was that when he stole it?
That's when he stole the thing from him at the beginning.
Yeah,
and he's like showing him how much he's like, that's very unprofessional. And
he really does explain what the person did wrong to shame them almost in a lot of situations. And that's a kind of reoccurring thing.
Or he's just dedicated to the craft of murking.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. Like, because it's on the other hand, he's constantly just like, well, I don't care about anything or anyone except me, you know?
Right. But then he just consistently does the opposite the entire movie.
And then the whole time he obviously cares about everything and everyone. Like, like the whole time, but then just talks about how like he doesn't at all.
Even Toombs.
Riddick is like me playing an RPG and just being like, okay, booting up Fallout 3, like I'm gonna be a jerk. I'm gonna be mean to people. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll bring you some scrap metal. Yeah, you seem to be in kind of a bind.
So to sum it up, Vin Diesel's emotions died with Paul Walker.
Oh, poor man.
Is that the question?
He's just like, I don't give a shit about anyone except.
Paul's alive at this point, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's still got love in his soul. Maybe that's what it is.
Man,
maybe the next Riddick movie, he's gonna be just torn to pieces.
Sometimes you pull the trigger on the Paul Walker joke, and it just doesn't go, guys.
So basically, it's just like his whole personality on his like the proclaimed part is he doesn't care about anybody, but he actually cares a whole bunch about his brother from the first movie.
Yeah.
And then that psychotic white chick. Like those are the people he cares about, who he's gonna do anything for. Like
correct. But yeah, he steals a ship, right?
Yep.
They end up flying to an orange planet. Everything is orange. There's a guy there. He's like, the only way this dude could have known that I was here is because of you. And he's like, okay, but listen, we needed your help, so I wanted you to get I wanted you to get here. And he's like, that sucks. And he's like, yeah, I don't know. That was kind of the conversation they had. Like it wasn't. Yeah. They're like, he's like, yeah, right. But anyways, it's just establishing that there's someone we care about on the planet, right? And he says that, hey, remember that one chick that you saved last time? Yeah, she's like captured now. That's a bummer for her, and that's your fault. And he's like, okay, because it is his fault. He knows. So the bad guys show up, right?
Yeah.
Oh no,
Necromongers.
We get introduced to introduced to Judi Dench at that scene.
Oh yeah, the ghost Dench, ghost Judi Dench. Is that who we're talking about?
Yeah. She's there.
Elemental.
She just doesn't seem very important the entire movie, honestly. Like she's there to like tell people stuff they don't know.
Like she's only the part-time narrator. Like you get Judi Dench, and then you're like having her split hours as narrator with Vin Diesel.
Right, exactly. It doesn't make any sense. It seems like
she's the prophecy person.
She's underutilized for sure. But yeah, she shows up and she says some shit like, hey, here's some stuff you don't know. It's actually not even important, like later. And the bad guys show up, she, I don't know, ghosts away.
That's also where we find out that Vin Diesel is like an ancient Valerian or whatever, that he's like a super strong
prophet of the woods. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Furion
so badass though.
Yeah.
So you basically find out he's a Jedi, and he's the one person that can destroy the Empire, which is the Necromongers.
Yeah, he's like a
Jedi. He's the Jedi, but he's also the one.
Yeah. and this movie was made in 2004, so you have big The One feelings the entire
Oh
time.
yeah,
It's
like
very-
kind of some Matrix feels. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's not as
Yeah.
Matrixy as like Equilibrium, but damn, is it Matrixy? Anyway, so they like the bad guys show up, the Necromundos, and he's, God, what is he? Was he? Oh, the there's a guy with a big axe, right? And he kills his buddy who was on the planet, right? So Vin's like pretty mad, and he's like, it kind of like he like looks over and the body's there, and the big guy is gone, right? And he's like, I'm gonna go get him, and then it just kind of cuts to old Three Face King Mitchell, and he's there, and at this point we kind of also get introduced to the other like bad guys, right? And we got
They're having a big town hall, right? I remember that they had a bunch of dudes like the government of this planet that they're on in a room, and they got like Mitch there. They got
Karl
Mitch's
Urban.
little buddy there, Darth Vader.
Karl
or whatever.
Urban. I love how every movie
Karl
he
Urban,
shows
yeah.
up, he's wearing a fucking mask, and you immediately know who he is. Anyways, you're like, that's Karl Urban.
That's because
Like,
he can act with
I can-
specifically only the lower half of his face. It's sick.
Yeah, I can see his nose and his mouth, and I know who that is. Like, that's
Fucking love Karl Urban, dude.
This is a good time to introduce Jada Pinkett Smith to his wife.
Is that who that
Was
was?
that? Yeah, wasn't it? Was that not? She reminded
I
me of
have
Jada
no
Pinkett
idea.
Smith.
I'm waiting to be told. I have no idea. What was her name in the show? I actually did not
No
catch
clue.
it the entire
I'm just
time.
gonna call her Jada.
Dame
Pinkett Smith.
Vaco.
Dame Vaco. So her name is literally also Karl Urban's name, but with Dame in front of it.
Yeah, Vaco is his last name.
Yeah, just like the
Oh,
last name.
Okay. I
Isn't
got
that a
it.
Judi Dench thing too? The Dame.
The Dame? Yeah. The Dame. Yeah.
We're
Dame
really doubling
Vaco.
up here.
It's girl Karl Urban. That's who that is.
And it's Thwandy Newton, who is that chick, not Jada Pinkett Smith.
She looks like Jada Pinkett Smith. She's also trying to influence Karl Urban, like Jada Pinkett Smith influences Will Smith.
Yeah. What happens? There's like this dude there, and he's like telling him like, "Hey, convert to our religion, or we're gonna fucking kill you." What the big Three-Face Mitchell, he like comes out and he's like check it out, and like steals a guy's soul, a guy who was really really committed to like he was already like they knew that stuff was not
That
happening.
was Christopher Heyerdahl, who was like, I guess at this time wasn't in anything. I don't know, but like I don't know if you guys have ever watched like
Who is-
Hell on Wheels.
On Wheels, okay. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, maybe this was his big
Yeah.
breakout role, you know? Got killed in Chronicles of Riddick.
Maybe.
Out of 10, how much did that give you vibes of the Mortal Kombat "Your soul is mine," like every time?
Oh, an 8 at least.
I thought it was awesome. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know the vibes. I don't have the vibometer on that one. I got nothing.
But yeah, so they're in the big conference room, right?
Oh yeah, and then
The
all
Lord
of a sudden,
Marshal is
yeah, because he's like
Yeah.
up there, right? They're stealing souls, and Riddick's just like standing there, and he's like, I'm looking for the big guy, and then they just fight. Like everything else stops happening, right? They're like in the back. Like they're not like out in front. They're just there. Everybody stops. He goes to fight the big guy. He like stabs him, kills him, or whatever, and then
there's a great line here when the Riddick kills the bad guy. Somebody's like, "That was our best guy," and Riddick is like, "I'll take your word
You
for
say
it."
so.
yeah,
Or
If you say so.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he kills him up, and then they're like, okay, let's get him. We're gonna bring him to our reprogramming palace, and Riddick just kind of goes with it. Like, I mean, there's a lot of them there. I don't know. He gets into a lot of situations where he doesn't seem to have a plan. Most of them occur in this palace, and he goes in the palace, and they're like, we're gonna give him to these nerds that are gonna change his mind. And they're just like prophets in, I don't know. It's like weird. They put him in a room and it looks like he's like trying to lift something heavy. He's trying to do a push-up, but he can't do a push-up and he's really mad about it. And then there's like all these ladies yelling at him. And then they
Was it the scoop? Was it like the like dudes with the fish tank goggles?
No, this
You guys
was
do
like,
know
No,
what I'm
it
talking
was like women who are like strapped over a freaking barrel backwards
yeah.
under a sack of poly.
Yeah.
You don't remember that? They were like in
No.
egg sacks and they were just like
No.
whispering shit.
Yeah.
It was really weird. It was very not technological for everything compared to everything else that these guys do, right? It was very like wizardy and
Yeah.
had nothing to do with like
Somebody
any
watched
physics. Like it was just like
Beastmaster before this, and they were like, you know what, we need some magic.
But yeah, that doesn't sway Vin though. Vin stays focused on
Well, they like
doing just random
freak
stuff.
out, right? They like freak
they
out.
find out that he's a whatever the race that was prophesized to fucking kill the Lord Marshal or whatever.
Yeah. So Mitchell's pissed. He's like, I'm gonna fucking get this guy, right? And the there's like a priest guy who's like trying to convert people or whatever, and he's like, whoa. Like, they like zoom in on his face real big. I feel like they really wanted him to be a character, you know? But they're like, he's like, whoa, and then Vin Diesel fucking escapes. He gets out of the palace, right? And then immediately gets captured by Toombs. Like he walks out of the palace and Toombs picks him up.
Yep. Toombs got a brand new crew.
Yeah, brand new crew.
Everybody's dead.
They're skittish. Skittish Tombs.
He just like lets them take him and just talks like just makes them scared by just saying shit like, "What happened to your last crew, Toombs? Did you tell them?" Like,
Yeah, they're really getting a rapport built up. Him and Toombs, like they're like best buds.
I like Toombs. I felt like Toombs was a grace upon this movie, to be honest. Even though he was a greasy man.
You know,
Toombs is like a really good like Pokemon rival for Riddick.
Yeah.
Like they're really giving each other shit, and they're evenly matched.
Toombs is a lot like Wolverine. You guys know Wolverine? If you could imagine
from X-Men.
Yep. So you could imagine Wolverine from
I
X-Men.
can imagine that guy playing Wolverine for sure. If Hugh Jackman didn't exist, for absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, an extra greasy version. But
If
I do
If
love.
we shave up Hugh Jackman, he can be Riddick.
Yeah,
Just
we'll
had to
swap
tell.
the roles.
Hugh Jackman could play all the roles in this movie.
It's like the Nutty Professor, but I would actually like to see that more than like a comedy movie. Like I want a serious play with like just one person playing every character in an action movie.
A new age one-man show.
Yeah, exactly. Like I need
A
that
Hollywood
in my-
version of a one-man show where it's just literally a movie, but everyone's played by Hugh Jackman.
Wait, should we just make this? Should this be the Slaphappy movie?
Ooh.
Oh my god, we could do it.
God, stop.
Is Hearn our
guys.
guy? Is Hearn our guy who
Oh,
plays
Hearn.
everyone?
Hearn's the only one with the range, I think, to
Yeah,
pull
I don't
it
know.
off.
Hearn can be different people.
I don't know, man.
Dynamic.
The
But
voices are tough.
he's on the ship, right? And he's like, I like that before one of his critiques was like, hey, you guys tried to get me with a 4-man crew. Like, what the fuck? That's not enough, right? And so they come back with a 5-man crew.
He's like, got him,
Yeah.
got him.
And they got him. They got him, though.
He just let him take him, though. He
yeah.
was like, "This is a free ride off this planet." Like,
It is implied that he, yeah. But anyways, so Dame Urban, I can't remember, Dame Vaco, she's like, she turns to Karl Urban, right? And she's like, hey, you know that 3-faced Mitchell guy? And he's like, yeah, he's my king. He's fucking props all, you know, he's like, I love that guy. She's like, maybe we should like kill him and then we can be in charge. And he's like, no, you know, like he's like it didn't occur to him, but he's like, maybe, you
He's
know,
a pure of heart guy.
Yeah,
He's Karl Urban.
yeah,
He's worked really hard.
he's loyal.
He's been growing that mullet for like fucking 4 years and putting a ton of hair stuff on it this
like-
whole time.
He's like, listen, I work at least twice as hard as this guy, and he's got 300% more soul power than me. Like, I tried to form a union, but he's not found with that. Like, what are my options? You know? So yeah, they're like, huh? Right, and that's kind of just the end of it. Like you're like maybe there's something there, guys. And then they kind of cut to where Vin Diesel's going, and he's going to a planet which is aptly named Crematoria because when the sun comes out, it explodes. There's just
the surface to the tidal wave of fire from nowhere.
Yeah,
he like Jedi mind tricks Toombs into bringing him to the shittiest prison.
Yeah,
like that's just how badass he is. It's like, oh no, you want to bring me to one where I just never see the sun, don't you?
Yeah, Toombs is like, maybe.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that one sounds
if
like
you're
the
gonna
one
be
I
a
want.
prick.
Because that's where he knows his psycho girlfriend's at that he has to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they get there, right? And they kind of fly in. It's like the sun's lighting on fire while the plant's lighting on fire while they're cutting it real close for some reason instead of waiting. They probably could have waited. But they get in there. And
there's a bunch of angry Russians there. So they like get on this little speeder cart because it's a really long distance from the landing pad to the actual prison. So the angry Russians put them on the speeder cart, zoom them to the actual prison. Of course, the prison is underground because it's the crematorium and there's a ton of heat and stuff like that.
Yeah, they spent an overly long time on just like going from landing to the prison, right? Like they were like on a minecart ride. It was like a whole Donkey Kong level.
Like, Vin Diesel is like laying there, popping up the guards so the guards hit their heads in the top of the tunnel and then die, and everyone laughs.
Yeah,
that was the four-way split we were talking about earlier, Alan.
Yeah, that was the split.
They were loving
fractions.
It. Yeah, everyone was having a great time. There was absolutely nothing bad happening. So then after that, he's in the prison then, right? And he meets his.
Well, we can't skip the PR guy for the prison.
There's a PR.
So gets lowered into the prison, right? And the prison is just like this big open area that prisoners just kind of revel around. And immediately he fights some people, and then eventually one guy who is a blonde dude that literally looks the PR guy at my office walks up to Vin Diesel and kind of just like lays down the law. He's like, "Hey, Vin, I know you've had a stressful day, buddy, but we're all needing to get along here. You know, talk to me if you have any issues first with the management. You know, I can help you out with that. I'm on your side." And Vin Diesel is like, "The fuck are you talking about?" and just leaves.
Yeah, he's like, "I'm not an inmate. I'm a convict." And he's like, "That'll."
He says, "I'm just passing through." That's what he says.
Yeah. Vin's a badass in this scene.
Yeah, Vin's like, "Why are you talking to me, PR guy? Get the fuck out of here."
He just can't wait to break out of jails. That's like his favorite thing.
But yeah, so Vin's there in prison, and he meets the girl he saved from the first one, the psycho lady, and she's a psycho lady now. Like I guess maybe she wasn't.
Her name was Jack,
right?
And she's decided her name is Kira now.
Okay, I'm glad I'm getting some lore on this.
She wants to fight everyone.
She's ready to murder.
They established that in like a 30-second scene, and everyone just goes, "Okay," and moves on. But then, like, I dwelled on it the whole movie. I was like, "It is insane! Like, what is going on here?" Like,
isn't her favorite game "Who's the Better Killer"?
Yeah. Like,
yes, this is.
If a white girl says to you, "It's not Jack now, it's Kira," run. Like, if they're changing their fucking name, run. Like, what are you doing? I don't care
if they're adding sometimes Y as a vowel in their name. Like, things have changed.
Yeah, you don't want sometimes Y. You don't know where that's gonna go. Let's see. So so he meets her, right? It's like barely that you just kind of see her. She's like, "I'm crazy now," and he's like, "All right."
So she cuts him.
Yeah, she cuts him. Yeah.
Like, and then that's like the extent of their interaction. Basically, like, fucking talk a little bit, and she's like, "I'm mad at you," and then cuts him.
Yeah. And then after that, we get shown how the prison controls the inmates. They actually release it's a massive armored panther. You remember this, Rob?
Yeah, they're like rock cougars. They change color. They just release them into the fucking prisoners' cells. Like, just like, here you go.
Yep,
They
and the
kill a
prisoners,
bunch of them.
then the prisoners have to go in their cells to be safe from this like armored thing.
Yeah, they go in their cells and close the door.
Yeah, so the armored
like-
panther is just like kind of roaming around, doing stuff, yada yada. Vin Diesel doesn't give a fuck about armored panthers, so he
No.
just walks up to
He
it.
befriends it.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're buddies, and he's like,
Yeah, he just wins the stare down.
yeah, it's like a
Yeah, he literally just stare it down, and then it's just a kitty. Like, just
reptile dog,
They're
whatever.
just like, oh,
Same
excuse
thing.
me, sir. Sorry.
Yeah, and completely irrelevant, by the way. Like, the scene was just like, Vin Diesel's a badass. Like, that's what the scene was. The
was
one guy, like,
I was kind of expecting that later in the movie, like that cat was gonna like fucking help them do something, but like, nope, that scene got cut. Right, like that didn't
Resident
happen.
Evil 4
Like,
dog.
this didn't matter. Like,
and
I'm willing to bet you're right about that. I bet that happened.
there
I
was
bet
a
that's
scene that
100%
was
true.
really dumb where they like rode the cats all the way to the fucking hangar or something. Like,
Right.
like he was gonna use the armored panther to like get up out of the jail, out of the jail. That actually would have been nice to have later if he could have ridden it.
If
Horseback.
Riddick was also the Beastmaster.
yeah, they were like too on the nose. This is too much like
Yeah.
Beastmaster. We gotta
Take it back.
Unfortunately, Riddick ends up being a lot more like our boy Flash Gordon than anyone else.
That's true. So what happened? Oh no, they like
He kills someone with a teacup. Don't skip over that.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll get to that. I think there's like an aside, right, where they just contextualize that Three Face is afraid of.
Oh yeah, they
Vin
jump
Diesel.
back
Yeah,
to
they
the
jump
Empire.
back and like
Yup.
Judi Dench is like, I'm gonna explain some more stuff, and
By the way, you probably didn't find the first movie because Riddick's not in the name. Let me just fill you in.
yeah.
yeah, exactly. That's what she said. And yeah, she just explains some more shit. She's like, listen, dude, this guy's like afraid of you because you're like, or this guy's afraid because he's a Furion or whatever. And Karl Urban's wife is like, I still think we should kill that guy. And then it goes back. Yeah, and critics. So he's in the prison and he's trying to like save, or the like guards come in and they're like the crazy chick, was it Kira, right? They're like pinning her up against the wall, right? Some bad stuff's about to happen. But she like kicks out a blade and just starts like fucking people up. And it's like actually sick choreography. The fight is like awesome. And she like fucks
Flipping
him
around and
she
shit.
like fucks him up pretty good, right? But eventually they overpower. The one guy's not making it out of there. He's probably fucking dead. But like there's three other dudes, you know, they kind of, she doesn't really have anywhere to go. And then Vin Diesel comes up, right? And he's like drinking out of a coffee cup, right? Like he's like in prison, but he's like,
Just hanging out.
yeah.
It's the cup you rattle on the bars in other prison
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah.
Like when you're not
Yeah.
Vin Diesel, that's the one where you're just like trying to be annoying.
Yeah, I get you. But yeah, so he takes the cup, and he threatens the guy with. The guy's like, "You gonna kill me with a soup cup?" And he's like, "Nah, man, this is a teacup."
It's E.
Yeah. So he takes the cup and he just like shoves it into his chest and murders him. He's dead instantly. Instant death by teacup. Yeah, I don't know. You guys got anything to say about that? It was pretty.
It was
sick,
awesome.
Yeah.
Ernst
I
a
was
little
hoping
biased.
we were
I
gonna
love
get like a nod or like just like that's where they're gonna like if he would have put a rat in there and gotten it really hot first and then just like jump forward to the Fast and Furious techniques
Oh.
and just like eat the way through.
Oh. Ooh.
Prison rat.
Prison rat.
That's too gnarly for.
I don't like that.
Is that too gnarly
That's
for
too-
mid 2000s?
That's too much for me.
See,
yeah.
See,
Chronicles
Vin
of
is,
Riddick, a
you already
prequel to the
thought
Fast
more
and
than
Furious.
Vin did this entire movie, Alan. You already thought more than he did the whole time.
I mean, the movie already delivered a very epic nut shot. Like I was talking to Aaron like before we started recording. Like it's up there like one step below the RoboCop scene where he shoots that guy in the dick.
Yeah, she
Like
kicks him.
that double blade in the heel, back kick like up under the dick. Like that's devastating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The gooch. That's the bad area to get stabbed.
Yeah, I found out Alan's superpower is remembering people's damaged genitals when no one else will.
Some things you just never forget. All right.
He's the hero
It haunts your
we
fucking
need,
dream. Like,
but we don't deserve.
It's like everyone has
wakes up in a
that
cold
one
sweat
friend that
every
can,
morning, fucking after his dream of getting kicked in the balls with the fucking knife.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not having fun anymore.
So anyways, the mercs, so the mercs have been staying at this prison the whole time, right? Toombs is there, his buddies are there. They're waiting because these guys were gonna pay for Vin Diesel as a prisoner. They were gonna pay him $700,000, which I'm not really sure why. I guess maybe
What's the economy like?
yeah. I was like, what? Why are you paying to take a prisoner? Are you gonna make money off your prisoner, or like? I'm not really
Maybe
sure.
the intergalactic government pays the prisons to house different inmates, right?
Yeah, but like it's like supposed to be like this huge sum, right? Like I don't like
Oh,
who's
right.
paying
And
it?
of course, the Necrons aren't going to be paying you, right?
Yeah, why would they?
The-
Yeah,
the
they
Necro-
just
the
take what they
bad
want.
guys?
Yeah, the Necromundos. Yeah,
Yeah, the
Oh,
Necromongers
okay.
they don't have money. They just take.
Oh, so this is really a movie about capitalism and protecting
every
capitalism.
movie is a movie about capitalism. Horn.
They're like, how are the prison guys going to get paid if the Necrons just kill everybody?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, if you have the Necrons, you don't need money. You
'Cause
got
I think-
God.
Long story short, the prisoners and the mercenaries are squabbling over agreed upon price
Right,
of Vin Diesel
but then
while he's just escaping.
yeah, well they see that Karl Urban is coming, right? They're like, oh fuck, we gotta get out of here. The actor Karl Urban is coming. You know, like we don't want to
Yeah,
get in
yeah.
his way.
Yep.
And they're like, well, fuck, we didn't. That wasn't us. And they're like, well, surely it was. And then they fucking start shooting at each other. And there's like a whole battle that happens up there. There's like an explosion, and it like opens up, and Vin Diesel like crawls his way up, right? And like Toombs is like hanging on the rope. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing, you silly goon?" And he's like, "I told you I'm a badass," and fucking slimes up the rope.
And the PR guy is climbing up there, and the PR guy's assistant is climbing up there.
Yeah,
Everybody's coming.
Came up
everybody's
the
climbing up
stairs.
there.
They came up the stairs. They didn't climb up the rope because he just.
Oh,
Vin Diesel climbs up the rope, opens up the gate, and everyone just comes up the stairs except for fucking Toombs, who climbs up the rope like a goober.
He needed to.
No, the stairs were still. He could have just dropped down and taken the stairs like everybody else.
He needed to for the to be the foil to Vin Diesel.
Oh, sure. And
Plot
I guess
wise,
in that-
he needed to contextualize Vin Diesel being cool. But yeah, so Carl's showing up. They're like, well, we got to get out of here. But all those mercs that got out of here, a couple of the mercs survived, right? There's an explosion, but a few of them survived. And they're like running through the tunnels to get to the hangar so they can take on off and leave the prisoners behind. And they're like, oh, well, how do you know that? And Vin Diesel's like, because that was my plan, you know. He's dropping
it's a good plan though. It makes sense
Yeah.
that the sun is also coming up during this.
Right.
So obviously there's this whole thing of like nobody does anything just while the sun's not up.
Right, because the sun's gonna kill you. But yeah, so they're like the crazy girl's like, hey, what are we? I know that you want to run across the planet, don't you, Vin? And he's like, yeah, I do. And they go running across the top of the planet to get to the ship before the mercs, right? Because they're not gonna be able to go through the tunnels and get to them. They lock the door. So they're all running across the top. And there's a lot of fire. It's starting way in the back, and they're just running from it because the sun's rising slowly.
Yeah, people are getting picked off. A lot of the inmates tried to run with them, and they're getting picked off.
Yeah. And then I mean, nothing really happened. They're just running, and people are dying. And then eventually, the ones who are important, who we've been talking about, make it to the hangar, where a fight ensues. Right? They show up, right, and Kara's like, let's kill him. And Vin's like, wait a minute. Let's just wait. The only restraint he shows in the entire movie is wait a minute. And then, so Karl, the door opens to the hangar, and Karl Urban's been sitting out there with his squad, and they all look at each other real confused, and then they start fighting, right? So then they use that opportunity to go in and also fight, to use the confusion to their advantage, right? And then they start doing a bunch of wrestling moves. Like, I don't know if you saw, but he like suplexed the one guy. And the other,
very WWE.
yeah, and Karl Urban picked up the PR guy and slammed him on his knee. I don't even remember what that move is called. What's the move called? He like slams
That's
him.
the backbreaker.
Yeah, okay, the backbreaker. Yeah, the backbreaker.
Straight up wrestling moves. They just did a
Yeah.
bunch of them there in that scene.
They came in that day and they're like, we're done with Beastmaster. Now we're into WWE.
He like grabbed Kira's hand and just like spun her around like a goddamn mace, and she's just kicking people in the face. Like,
Yeah, it's tag team. It's goddamn tag team.
she's wielding. He was wielding her as if she was a fucking flail. Like,
Yeah,
that's
It
basically.
was like she was Rey Mysterio and he was the Big Show, and he was just like flipping her around. But yeah, so what even happened there? They almost killed Vin, right? They killed the PR guy. They almost killed Vin. And then
Vin's about to die with the sun coming up, right? So
yeah, the
Vin's
sun
like,
starts
"Oh,
to come up, so
shit."
they all fucking peace out.
Right. The one guy stays back, and it's a old Necron guy, like evil guy that got
he's the
split.
priest guy from earlier. This guy.
Right, priest guy. Yep. And he just wants to, and he actually saves Vin's life. He like pulls him back in, and then reveals that he's the same lineage that Vin Diesel is in this movie. He's like the super. What was the name of the people?
Furion.
Valerians.
Furion.
Yeah. Like the Pokemon.
Correct.
Flareon.
Yeah.
So they're both
Fiery
Flareons.
voice, yeah. But yeah, and then he walks out in the
he
sun.
like, yeah, that scene bothered me a lot because he's like, I've saved your life and I want you to succeed, and I've helped you, but I can't help you anymore, so I must die. And he just walks into the fucking fireball of the planet, and like,
Yeah, it's like they didn't have. I feel like they just didn't have a plan for him. They were like, okay, we got this guy who like switched sides. He's like a cool Deus Ex Machina. Like, get rid of him. You know, like they just didn't have a plan for him past that. So they rode him into the sun.
it was very dramatic and drawn out,
Yeah,
and
it's
it
too much.
moved Vin Diesel.
Yeah, it definitely did.
Maybe that's why he did it.
Yeah, but
Even
then
though we don't care at all about that guy.
no, we don't.
I didn't care even a little bit about
Yeah,
that.
even the
no,
slightest.
we don't. But Vin Diesel did for some reason.
Because he found
Like-
out that they're the same.
I don't
That's
know.
why.
He was just like distraught by him walking into the sun.
God, can you imagine if that happened to you at your job? Someone's like, don't worry. You can get your project done by the deadline. I must leave. And then they
In
walk
traffic.
out into traffic. Yeah. I need that guy. I need him to inspire me.
Man, you would really feel like that project's really important, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like the project that this guy gave to Vin Diesel.
That
to
guy
save the
believes
world.
in me.
Like, if you don't complete your project, then this death will be in vain. And you're like, what? And then they just fucking jump out the window. And then you're just like, oh my fucking God.
That is the kind of motivation I need to get my projects done. It's
Yeah,
no
I've
wonder
never
I
had
can't
anyone do
finish
that for
anything.
me.
Yeah.
Never.
But anyways, they cut back, right? And they cut back to Karl Urban, and he's getting a promotion. You know, they're like pinning a medal on him. They're like, "Good job, you're the best." And then he's like, "It's a truly a day of days," which is
Yeah, he's like the
yeah.
Lord Marshal Jr. or something now.
yeah, he's
He's like the
Yeah, something like
comptroller.
that.
I don't remember what he was.
It's
Mitchell.
like he's a
Jr.
captain, wasn't he? Wasn't it his title, or was it like
Lord Wizard.
You've been promoted to my son.
find out the whole time that he actually is his son? Is like
Yeah,
had to work
right.
for it though. Like,
And then isn't it right after that Jada Pinkett Smith convinces our boy Carl to try to kill the Emperor?
Yeah, she's
Isn't that the
like,
next-
she's
when
like,
when
it's-
they find out. So at that point, they all think Riddick's dead, but then they find out he's not when he just blatantly shows up.
yeah, he just walks in.
He just walks in the door, and they're like, "Oh,
How
look,
does he
he's
get
alive."
there? Does he just
He took
He
the
takes the
fly
jet,
over?
the fucking Tombs ship, and he left Tomb in the cage with the fucking raptors.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, back in the jail.
that was where the armored cougars were.
Rock cougars.
Yeah,
That's right. Okay. So he flies immediately back to the enemy.
Yep.
Yeah,
Flies
he
in.
just walks on
Reminiscent
the
of
capital
Flash
ship.
Gordon.
Yo, he walks in disguise, right? then he goes to go attack. Right, they're all in one room. They're like Karl Urban got a promotion. Everybody's there. Old three-face Mitchell is there. Everybody's there. He runs in and he just like fumbles the bag and falls on the ground, like an idiot. Like I don't know what he was doing. He just fell over and like there's like 50 people surrounding him, right? Like, and they all have guns pointed at him and swords and knives and whatever they have. All the Necromundos are there, and the Mitchell's like, wait. This is my fight, or something along those lines.
Like, instead of just killing him and just like ensuring that he survives, he's like, "Well, I'll give him a chance to kill me."
Exactly. Yeah.
Because it's a movie.
Yes. Not a lot of planning going into that on old Vin's part. But yeah, I don't know. They fight. They have a fight. Karl Urban's starting to get real antsy to murder him. He's like, shit, I gotta murder him now. It's that way I can become the king, King Mitchell.
And Mitchell's ability is that he can like shapeshift places. Like he can kind of disappear into smoke.
He's like fucking noob Cybot.
The Elementer or the Elemental.
Yeah. He like
a little.
Yeah, he like poofs. It's essentially teleporting, but there's like a ghost that gives away where he's gonna go. Essentially.
Kind of balance it, you know.
Yeah, I gotta have that balance.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, so he's like he's like beating up Vin. Like Vin's not having a good time. He's like beating his ass. And he's like, this is too easy for some reason. And he grabs like a big heavy thing. He's swinging that. Eventually gets to this point where Karl Urban jumps down, right? And he's like, I can't remember if Vin had injured him or something.
The crazy white chick stabs him in the back when he's fighting Vin. Stabs the bad Mitchell.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and she's fighting their mind control that whole time too, because she got like the mind control stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then she gets tossed into a fucking wall that has a big spike on it.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, she's so very dramatic. And that's when Karl Urban's like, all right, I'm going to grab this ridiculous axe-like thing off the wall.
Yeah. So Karl Urban's looking cool, as always. I fucking love Karl Urban. And he, like, goes in. He's about to murder him, right? And Mitchell, like, realizes it. He's like, oh, fuck, this guy's not here to help me. He's going to murder me. So he, like, goes to poof away, right? But where he poofs to is right next to Vin Diesel. And Vin Diesel's got a knife, right? And he's just waiting. And then he's either going to get his head chopped off by Karl Urban or get his head stabbed by Vin Diesel. So he picks to get his head stabbed by Vin Diesel. So Vin just like stabs him in the head, breaks the knife off, and then
it's dead.
Yeah. And then he's sad.
And then he goes to weep over the white girl.
Yeah, he goes and he sits down. He just begins luxuriating in this throne, looking sad. And then,
that's it. And then Judi Dench is like, well, who would have seen that coming? I think that's literally what she said.
Yeah, she's like the fucking Frosty the Snowman narrator. She like stumbles in and she's like...
Everyone marches up and like drops to a knee and they're like, oh, you keep what you kill, because that's what they all say to each other all the time, even though it doesn't make any fucking sense.
And now
so
Vin
he's
Diesel
the king
is
now.
the king of the world.
King of the Necromongers.
And that's when the credits roll.
Credits. Boom.
Because that was his goal, and that's...
Yeah.
His goal, as stated at the beginning of the movie, was, I just wanted to be left alone.
And now he's more not left alone than ever before.
Now he's the leader of the world's worst group of people. I mean, what does he do? You can't just be like, I bow out. Like, you know.
I think you just end up in Donald Trump position where he was like, I was never actually meaning to do this ever, but now I have to do this really badly.
Now I'm stuck.
Now I'm here, so...
Yeah, I don't know. What does he do? Like, obviously there's a sequel, but I don't know if we're going to watch that shit. Like, I don't know.
Is the sequel going to have anything to do with that, or is it just going to be like 15 years later after his shenanigans with the Necromongers ended? You know? Like
Judi Dench, what it is.
Judi Dench is going to fucking tell you a 5-second little thing about like, these things happened. And anyways...
Just like the introduction to this one, they're like, and
Yeah.
and whence the Necromundas were no more, Riddick roamed free, and he's like riding one of those cougars, you know, and then it's like, here's the new bad guys, I don't know, something analogous. The space Nazis, you know. Man.
Or the bugs.
Yeah,
The bugs is a classic one.
The bugs. I feel like you have knowledge on that. Okay. All three of us are going to guess what the plot of Riddick 3 is, and then you're going to tell us what it actually is.
Oh, I'm excited. Okay.
Okay.
Let's start with Alan.
Ooh. So Riddick 3, the Riddicking, is definitely Vin Diesel. He leaves his post. He like leaves the necromongers just devastated, and he puts together his own like 3-man crew, and he's the snarkiest and smartest, and I don't know where the story.
That's all right. That's right. I got this.
Okay.
Okay. I got this. Those three, right? They go on shenanigans throughout the galaxy, right? They start like going to different planets and helping out, right? And Vin Diesel the whole time, he's like, I hate doing this. I fucking hate doing this, right? But then he finds out that they're a family, right?
Oh.
Right? So they start buying up ships, right? Racing them around, right? And then we do that for like 15 movies. How about that?
And this is Riddick pod racing.
Exactly. How about that?
Okay, that wasn't it. Alan's was closer than that. All right, Rob.
Oh god. I don't know. He uses the fucking necromongers. Like he tries to go to the underverse to fucking resurrect his fucking psycho girlfriend for some reason at the great expense of everyone around him and everything. And then he has to fix all of his problems that he's created himself and save the day and get lauded as a hero again.
Oh, that's
Throw
also.
in, I think he's motivated just by like a favor or a promise he made to someone, not even by money.
Ding, ding, ding. Alan gets it.
Okay.
So the third movie, guys, it starts like 5-ish years after he becomes the Lord Commander, right? And he's fucking bored.
Yeah.
People are trying to
Definitely.
assassinate him. People are trying to like take his stuff. He's like, I didn't even want to be here. I wasn't even supposed to be here today. I don't want
Nice.
to work.
I like that.
So he strikes a deal with Karl Urban, who's still in the movie. He's still trying to be the Lord Commander.
God, I
He's
fucking
still
love Karl
working hard.
Urban.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Amazing
Also-
guy.
Katie Sackhoff is in it and Dave Bautista.
I don't remember what any of those characters do, but yeah.
Okay.
So finally, he's sick of getting assassination attempts on his life. So he just says, I'm gonna leave, right? And he decides to just leave. And while he's leaving, there's like an avalanche or some shit that like causes some damage to the ship, and the ship falls down at whatever planet he's on, right? And the whole fucking movie is just them getting rescued from this crash. That's it.
So Alan was the closest. He just says, fuck those guys. I'm leaving.
Literally motivated by fucking nothing. He was just sick of it. He just doesn't want to do this.
He
And
just
then that
wants to
movie-
be left alone, man. He just
Seriously.
wants to be left alone.
And then the
Keep pulling me
movie,
back.
yeah, the movie ends with Riddick talking about how great the guy who rescued him is, and then they just fly off into the distance. That's it.
That's pretty neat. Yeah, that sounds like a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. For sure.
It's
Well,
just
now
like,
we don't have to do the third movie. Thanks.
Well, didn't they like made an announcement that there was like another Riddick coming in like 2019 or something like that. From what I looked up.
Animated Riddick movie too, though. That came out at the same time as this one, I think.
yeah.
There's another Riddick movie.
Oh my
Dark
god.
Fury?
What's the other?
Dark Fury.
Chronicles of Riddick Dark Theory. Or Dark Fury, sorry.
My God.
Oh, so that's the animated.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So is that
Is that not what I said?
it's like a continuation of the
No,
story?
I probably just missed it, Rob.
Well, come on.
Rihanna. Someone named Rihanna is in it. Not the real Rihanna.
Not the real Rihanna.
But yeah, so
what do we got, guys? How do we feel? How do we feel about this movie? How do we feel about? Are we talked out about it? Have we had our fill of Riddick?
There was no trains, but there was that like cart at the prison.
Yeah, you can't overlook the mine cart.
But it did break though, so
It was on rails.
3 out of 10.
I'll give it 5 out of 10. Only because they committed a lot of time to that random cart. Like they committed like 20 minutes maybe total of that cart and that tunnel. So
you're
I'll
right.
give
A
it a 5.
large portion of the movie was about that train, that small train. So
Like, yeah, I agree.
Small
So yeah, I think 5 for train scale.
Okay, I like it. Well, that was it. That was Chronicle Riggit. Riggit.
bring it.
Riggit.
Chronicles
Yep.
of Rick and Morty.
We'll leave you guys with watch the
Riggit
second movie. Don't watch the first one.
Yeah.
Don't watch the second one.
Yeah.
Or don't watch the first one. Don't watch the third one. They spent all the budget on the second one.
And then tell us about it. Tell me about it. I want to hear about it.
Tell us how we're wrong about.
Yeah, I want to make the nerds angry, and that's my goal. So, very easy goal. I can accomplish that. I'm
Both
gonna
of
go
the
on Twitter. I'm
Riddick
gonna accomplish
Shouldn't
fanboys
be
out
hard.
there.
that. Yeah, both of them. All 2 of them. One of them's here with us on the podcast.
Here right now, and he's not
Let's
even
go.
mad.
All right.
He's like, no, he nailed it.
All right, everyone.